Hello, my name is Chelsea Carter, and I am owner and operator of Alex Carter brand. And today's workshop is going to be over marketing your business. We're going to be discussing effective techniques, old and new, that you can use to better your social media marketing, as well as some useful tools to product launching, event campaigning, and overall social media marketing. Okay, so beginning first with your a marketing plan, right? And what that even looks like. Super excited for today because we live in a very digital age and everything is very digital based. So we can get super creative, but it is also very important to make sure that you do have an overall plan and you don't really get carried away in everything that we're seeing and thinking that it instantly can be applied to your business model. So, your for your marketing plan. Let's take a real live example for something that you could use to plan or adapt. If you have an event on August the 20th or, on August the 20th, you always want to plan at least, at minimum, a month out. So by July 20th, you need to, I would have all of your specifics fine tuned and figured out, where you're going to host it, what time that event it will be scheduled for, how big of a support group you're going to need, and have they been notified? Are they available? Your interns or any assistants that would be there. Do you have a rubric and some sort of system in place in order for that event to run smoothly? What you want it to look like, and the overall message that you are aiming to share or offer. So beginning with your offering, what tangible offering have you began at least a month out in order to promote your agenda? So your flyer, your graphic designer should be hired probably well over a month out, but is your marketing material ready? And if you are your graphic designer for this particular event, does it align, like the colors and the typography on it and the script, does it align with everything else that you've already been putting out? Is it something completely new, or does it fit the mold and the aesthetic of what you've already previously offered your customers and your audience? What channeling do you plan to attack and in promotion of your agenda? What distribution of channeling are you going to use? YouTube, Squarespace, your website, or are you hosting a physical event? And has that organization or establishment, are they teaming up with you to promote this as well? Cross promotional value is super important now. So if you are teaming up with a friend or you're teaming up with an organization or an event space, if they also promote it and you're already promoting it, you can cross reference or cross utilize their network and expand yours, and they can do the same with you. So using that to your advantage is also something that is really important. But also putting yourself in a position to make that company want to do that for you. Because it isn't, if you're paying to use that establishment, then it's not necessarily something that they are required to do, but have you offered them a reason in wanting to? Because cross promoting or cross marketing is something that is super helpful, but it also is beneficial to both you as well as that person that you're teaming up with, or the establishment that you might be using for your event. Because we're under the pandemic, everything is very virtual right now. So a lot of people have been utilizing very inventive ways to push their agenda or promote their events. Everybody's been doing virtual things. So like, what does your graphic division look like? They have animated flyers now. There's so many different creative ways in which you can push your agenda. Going live, which is what we've been seeing a lot of, to physically promote your agenda, like right now, getting in front of the camera and expressing to your audience what it is that you're offering and why, and giving them a little bit more insight is definitely one way to go about doing this. But another would be to make sure that your home base, your profiling on your social media channels has all of the information needed in order for someone to stay abreast to what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're offering and how they can be involved. What messaging are you sending? Is this a non-for-profit launch? Are you raising awareness to the pandemic? Are you promoting Black female workers? Does your campaign or your business morale or model already fit the mold for something that your audience would go to find out more about that? And if so, is the content for this particular event that you're planning, does it align with what you're already, aiming to promote? And is it accessible? If you are planning something and it is not accessible, like meaning I can't go to your page and find out more about this, then chances are you haven't been doing the best job at being transparent as well as informative. Everybody is going to social media right now to figure out more on whatever it is. If you exist as a business entity, people are now second place, they're going to your website, but first they're definitely putting your name into social media platforms and they're finding out more about you that way. So is the accessibility to your agenda visible? How catchy and how fun does it look? And by this, I mean, like I said earlier, they have animated flyers. They have all of these different ways in which you can be very creative and inventive in the way in which you are expressing your agenda or promoting your flyer, your event, your product launch, or whatever have you. So getting as creative as possible is something that is strongly recommended, especially right now, because we all are at home and because we all are just not able to do things the way that we would have ordinarily done it, The old techniques that I've seen used and I have even used is guerrilla marketing, which is on the ground, face to face, letting people know in a physical form what it is that you're doing and how you're doing that. Now, the new age way to market something is definitely online, right? So just using the other things that I've already listed to better your reach and further your agenda of whatever you are deciding or needing to promote. There are two different levels of marketing that I have learned and grown to adapt in my business marketing, and that is saturation versus breathability. Saturation is, are you over stimulating your client and your audience with your agenda? Are you promoting it all the time? Is it something that, is in their stories and on their profiles? Are you posting about it every day? The best way to tell if you are doing this is to view your likes and your comments and your engagement. If the first time you announce it, it goes crazy, it goes super viral, everybody's messaging you about it, they're resharing they're resharing this post, or they're finding out more ways to be involved. It looks like your RSVP link closed. Is there any way that I can, open it back up? Is there let me know, those types of messages and that type of communication is a clear sign that people are wanting to be involved in whatever it is that you're doing. If after a week that starts to die down because you are constantly putting out the same type of information over and over again, then you are saturating your feed with content that you have already made your audience aware of, and they're letting you know that by no longer engaging with whatever agenda you're promoting. So it is very important to allow for the other end of this, the breathability component of this. And by that, I mean just offer it up every day or so, or every 2 to 3 days. If this is an ongoing campaign that you're running, then just reintroduce it in a new way. But allow for people to digest it in their own time and try to create room for the campaign to grow, right? Don't oversaturate the market because people will grow tired of whatever agenda you're pushing. So leave yourself some wiggle room to leave curiosity for your audience to kind of live and dwell in, so that you're not just giving them the same thing all the time. Is your messaging, the 3 C's that I try to live by, is it clear, concise, and correlative? Is the message that you're sending clear? You're having an event on August the 20th. You're hosting, I don't know, a panel. Your panelists include Black business owners, women and men. Are the panelists correlative to what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're offering? Do they align with your brand? This is important because your audience is with you and follows you and supports you because of the product and service that you're offering. Your panelists should reflect that, because if not, then your audience, or the people that are going to come to your event virtually or in a physical form, are going to want to come to something that already aligns with why they're with you to begin with. So if you are a business owner, having a discussion panel of female or male business owners, that already is going to increase your chances of it selling out or having an audience to speak to. If you are a business owner who's having a panel discussion on how to make candles, probably not going to have that high of a turnout because of the content of and how it correlates to your existing brand model. So just making sure that is relatable and that it's clear, and then it also is concise. You don't want to put too much. People like to feel in charge of what they're digesting online and how it resonates with their life and their willingness to support your agenda. So consolidate it, think it through. I often write all of my captions in notes in my notes app, and I'll go over it and over and over it. And I always ask myself, what is it that I'm saying? Does it sound like me? Does it sound like an assistant or an intern or a cousin wrote it? Does it have my language? And have I answered any question? The what, the where, the when? And are all of the people involved properly credited? And if I've answered those, then 9 times out of 10, it's a concise message, and my content relates to the correlation of my branding and the agenda that I'm trying to push. So moving next into your plan of attack, how you plan to go after this event that you're planning. The location obviously has to be secure, but in selecting your location, and this is obviously using models for when the world opens back up, because right now the location would be a Zoom meeting, but if you were to have an audience at a physical location, deciding your location, where is your audience located? I, live in Logan Square of Chicago. When I was hosting my watch parties for Project Runway, I had a lot of North Side based watch parties. And that is because that is where I go out, and that is where I live, and that is what is closest to me in proximity. I also hosted one on the south side of Chicago in Hyde Park at the Promontory. And that is because I used to work there. And so I have a lot of friends that live on the south side of Chicago. And, I asked them, is this something that you guys want to see more of? Should I have more north and south based watch parties? And that audience spoke to me and said, absolutely. If you were to have more, I would come to more on the south side of Chicago. So does your location, are you increasing the probability rate of selling out of your event in terms of RSVPs and physical presence of your audience members by really fine-tuning the location that you've chosen? And is the address available on the flyer? But a lot of people don't like to put the addresses on the flyer. It's hit or miss. You can or you cannot. If it's your home, I would not suggest doing so. If it is at a physical location that already hosts events, then that's safe and inviting for that to be something that is included. The personal touch of invitations. I like to text people personally. It just makes them feel like I thought of them in a very intimate way. Again, everyone is online and everybody is doing all of this social mediaing right now. So with that, I like to go a little bit above and beyond and send a personal text message with their name addressed at the top, saying, hey, Jacob, I would love for you to come to this event. If you can make it, let me know. Or an email blast, just to kind of add that intimate touch of, I would love to have you in attendance for this. That is just something that I do when I host events. And then your product placement, right? So how you are marketing, I'm in the business of, a product-based business. So whatever it is that I'm pushing, for instance, if this were a pop-up that we're planning on August the 20th, is my product available for promotional value? And can I use it to my advantage to push the agenda of this particular event in preparation for, when it's going to happen? Is this a collaboration that I'm promoting? I've done several collaborations with musician friends of mine who have larger audiences, and getting them in a photo of that prior to launching it pushes itself. It markets itself because, that artist is going to promote it. They're going to wear it. They're going to tag it. And they're also reaching a larger audience that I'm unable to. So planting seeds of product placement is really smart. And if you are able to contact a celebrity or, a major artist in advance of launching your agenda, then that would just further your reach of whatever you're trying to push, especially when you're able to do it in advance. So photo shoots, getting pictures of those people in it prior to announcement will just continue to push the agenda. Posting and scheduling is tricky, but it is something that you do need to do. So again, if you're pushing this event on the 20th of August, you want to plan for a month out of that and start figuring out how you want to promote it. Social media, specifically with Instagram, people get a little bit over it after a while. So planting physical flyers months in advance online will get lost and someone will forget about it, which is why, going back to the invitations, I send text messages because people are more apt to check their text messages of invitations versus a DM on any social media platform. And you want to encourage somebody to plant that date in their calendar upon receiving it. So posting your scheduling, your posting schedules should reflect your event date, but also should make sense in line of your announcement. Mostly with planning an event, I always plan for at least a week out, depending on the magnitude of what it is that I'm pushing. If I'm announcing a collaboration, then I can really announce that, a day or two before. But if it's something that I need physical attendance of, like an event that is RSVP'd, or if I'm hosting a pop-up of something, that I want physical sales, I want to give people enough time. People have schedules, they have children, they live far, they live whatever it may be. I want to factor in all of those things as I'm planning this event to maximize the outcome of the result in attendance. So thinking about that is the same with posting. You don't want to oversaturate the market, but you also want to make sure that it is accessible. So I would plan a week out, and then also a day or two before, and then a day of. And in between that, social media, is really good for storytelling. You can drop a story to give a little bit more background on it. It's only available for 24 hours. If they miss it, they miss it. And tag people in it, because then that, again, is that cross marketing where that person, who you tagged would share it. And then now you're tapping into their market and, they're now aware of what they might be going to and will come on behalf of the person who shared it. So, just utilizing your friends in high places, but also cross-marketing and just being smart about it, being very smart and intentional. Your stories and your likes, right? So we live in a very influential time right now. Like I said earlier, your digital age of everything. So people are basing their importance on how many views their story gets and how many likes and comments their posts are averaging. Because everyone is at home right now, I wouldn't get too caught up in those numbers, because the proof is in the pudding. I've sold out of an item that only got, like, I don't know, 50 or 150 likes. So it doesn't necessarily matter what that physical number is. What matters is the actual action taken behind the content that you've shared. And it is very important, and Instagram will allow you to do this. You can see your insights and the profile visits and, the website clicks and all of that in order to better assess the way in which you need to begin marketing or continue to market your agendas. Your engagement is exceptionally important. I learned more on engagement after coming home from shooting the Project Runway season. People like to feel as if, because it's already a digital based thing, there's already a filter in front of you and your connectivity level with your audience or your fans. So with that being said, your engagement is how you can start to enhance your customer relationships and your audience relationships. So it is important to go back and like those comments, and every 2 or 3 comments respond and say thank you. Wow, I didn't know you felt that way, or DM me and let's talk offline, because it just creates an actual person who is running this account, and it drops that digital filter in between you and your agenda, and it makes it much more relatable and tangible for that person to connect to. So your engagement is highly important, and when you start to get into branding and brand partnerships and collaborations with major corporations, they are going to ask you before working with you what your engagement rate is. That insight and those analytics online are very important for those collaborations. So keep these things in mind, because they really do matter. And if your engagement goes down, you'll start to notice that your liking, your comments, and the inflation of your followers will also go down as well, because at some point they're just going to feel like you're talking to a robot, and you don't want that. There's a physical person running this account, so it should look like that. Surveying, questions, and polls are very good ways to increase your engagement. Asking people, hey, so I want to release this jogger or this dress. Here's a snippet of the prototype. Are you all interested? Take those numbers and apply it. If they are not interested in the dress and they are interested in the jogger, great. Offer the dress or offer the jogger, whatever, whichever item got the most hits. But use these numbers to adapt to your business model and ultimately your products that you're offering. And lastly, we have to cover your profile overall and what the message is that you're sending, right? So with that, the color scheme matters, totally matters. Your frequency and how much you're posting matters. The content in which you are speaking in your captions totally matter. For me and my personal profile, I like to sound like myself. I like to sound as if if you were reading it, you could hear my voice saying it, because it just connects, it bridges the gap between that robot and mechanism of like, oh, she's not running her account, to no, this is her because I can hear her voice in the way that this reads. The flow. When you go, because it's one thing to see someone's stories, because again, they delete every 24 hours. But if you go to their profile and it also tells a story, then that's, to me, the definition of a very strong profile and social media branding. Think about that. What does that look like? There are so many different ways now that we can model something after a profile that you enjoy. Have profiles of brands or companies that you do enjoy, because you're going to that profile and you're checking in on that person, whether they're in your algorithm or not, because there's something there that you enjoy. Identify what that is and figure out a way to adapt that to your business structure and how your marketing plan looks and your profile, is received. It is what I do. I have favorites, and I also have people that I don't really like. Their profile doesn't really translate, and it gets a little bit jumbled in its communication. But it also is very important to me that having favorites, there's a reason for that, and getting to the root of what that reason is helps me better illustrate the way a strong profile should look. So analyzing that, adapting that, and figuring out what your aesthetic is going to be, because it says a lot about who you are and what your brand is. Some examples of some successful companies or brands that I go to and check in on often are The Collectress, which is Ashton Berry. She's an educator, a food and beverage advocate, an event curator, and a public speaker. And she has figured out a way, like you can also tell by the successful brand pages by their increase in their followers and their likes. That means that their engagement is doing really well. And whatever brand model they have, it's working for the greater good of their market. So if you know someone who's been stagnant at a follower number for a while, it's because they probably aren't active, their engagements are low, and they aren't really focusing in on how to reach a larger market and how to tap into that audience. For those that have a successful profile and have a successful and strong marketing plan, those numbers constantly always are increasing. And she is definitely one of those people that has found an agenda, is sticking to it, and is consistent. The other is Hyatt Rita. She is an influencer, and I'm always constantly going to her page because she offers a lot of programming and advice for young and independent businesses, but also for young and up-and-coming influencers. Her profile is very her, and that is because she is an influencer and she is the mascot for her brand, but she also gives great insight on ways to strengthen your business structure, your marketing plan, and also the knowledge that goes into running a business and the things that you are not taught in school. She literally adapts what she's been learning into her business, and it's successful. And I always go off of that in terms of credibility. Like if I'm going to ask for advice from someone, I'm going to check in to see if that advice is worth it and if they've applied it in their own personal lives or their own personal businesses, because it matters, right? And then lastly is Diamond Mahone, who is a stylist. She is an amazing, beautiful woman who styles Erykah Badu and a plethora of other people. And she has other styling initiatives, but her profile is like decadent. It's very effortless. And I don't know that she tries very hard to maintain this, but it looks as if she does, which is, I think, what matters. And I'm constantly going to her page as well to just kind of check in to see what she's up to, what information she's offering, and ultimately to stay inspired, especially right now. So those are some examples of some brands that I think are doing phenomenal work. And this is a full-time job. Social media is a monster, and it is very important that you equip yourself with the tools necessary in order to strengthen and, really push your agenda. In what ways are you building in that regard of your brand? And how are you also giving back to the people? Like, are you getting messages about, hey, how do you do this? And are you answering those? Because in those settings, you learn a lot too. When you're being a teacher or a vessel to someone else, you're learning how to implement more systems that work for you too. So I hope that this was helpful for you today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know, and just keep at it.